The most dominant words of the American language are probably like, and though in truth, they're not really words. They're just audible fillers that we use when we're either thoughtlessly speaking or nervous. And a side note on those, because that's not the point for today, but if you want to come off as more intelligent, more wise, and more professional, especially if you're a podcast host or a speaker, but just in regular life, simply eradicate those words from your vernacular. Again, the like, and simply replace them with a pause. I mean, if you're calm and intentionally speaking a conscious thought, you can grow to just speak fluidly without those fillers. But if you listen to my shows, often my pauses are to gather my thoughts. Inserting, the like, makes it sound as such. You're trying to figure out what to say, but a pause makes you sound thoughtful and wise and profound. So there's a little pro tip for life there. For those of you watching me right now on YouTube, I'm sitting here solo and I'm actually reading or kind of ad-libbing off of my notes here. So that's a little cheat there. But now let me take aim at another insidious and profoundly detrimental word. It's actually a word combo that does far more damage than making us just sound less intelligent. If we audit literal words spoken by our culture, you would be bewildered to realize how often we speak of what we have to do. Have to. It's as common and subconscious as walking by someone benignly and just saying, "Hey, how you doing?" We're not actually asking, it's just saying hi. If the person were to actually respond in earnest and start telling you how they're doing intimately, you'd probably soon interject something like, "Hey, got to run," and get away as soon as possible. That's part of our point here. In truth, you do not have to do anything, but you sincerely want to remove yourself from this obligatory conversation. Can you imagine saying the truth? "Hey, so sorry, but I really just want to get on with my day. Bye." I mean, instead, we say it in a way that removes our personal culpability. "Hey, got to run, pick up my kids, get to work, save a drowning baby," whatever it is. And this has really bled over into a cultural norm. And it's just, please give it the gravity here for a moment, because at face value, you're going to go, "Oh gosh, yeah, that makes sense." But really stick with me for a moment. I mean, nearly everything that we do all day long is stated as a have to or a got to. And we're all apparently then victims to our lives, right? Led by things that we just don't have any control over. And it shapes our life and our perspective. And that's the point, our perspective, our very thoughts and emotions and feelings, it changes them into victimhood. I mean, imagine living for a day only stating things as what you want to do. "Hey, I want to go to the office now. I want to get up. I want to pick my kids up from school. I want to, talk to Frank about the problem we're having with customer service. I want to grab some groceries before heading home." I implore you, this is a radical mind job right here. Rewiring. You will initially find it's nearly impossible, as you can't actually lead with stating "I want" without considering it. Do you really want it? In truth, what will quickly come to fruition is how much you use you. I need to start saying we, because I generally do it too. Now, I obviously do the work to not these days, but we use this victim speak, and how often we're dishonest with it too. "I have to, I got to, I need to." I mean, those are the words literally of victims. I mean, if you go into psychology, that's victim speak, and we're all doing it. And again, I'm going to keep saying this. It matters. It matters. It matters. It matters. And that's what I'm going to talk about in the next few minutes. Imagine having vast wealth, okay, and power beyond measure. You're one of the I just had Robert Koch on. Let's see, the Ziegler Show not long ago. He's ranked 15th wealthiest man on the planet. Okay, billions of dollars. I think they've got him at like $380 billion or something like that. So imagine that that's you. You have wealth beyond measure. What would you ever have to do? You can hire somebody to take care of everything. You would do whatever you darn well please. What would you ever say you'd have? It's just you do whatever you want. But we speak, us average people, as if we are these indentured servants of our lives, beggars even. I mean, so this is a practice here. What I'm espousing here, it's a conscious exercise. It is for me still day to day. I mean, just now or a little bit ago, I'm at my office early Saturday morning. I got a text from my wife asking if I'm, "Hey, you okay?" And I text back that I woke up at 5 o'clock, just things on my mind. I came in to get some work done. Now, I rarely ever work on the weekends, but we've got a 10-day trip to Florida coming up, just the two of us, and we leave for 6 days. I just launched some initiatives, and the work's just, it's not going to do itself. So my fingers instinctually go to type out, hey, I just, got to get some work done before we leave. I had to come in. Well, doing so will likely get my wife responding, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Thank you for all you do to provide for our family, and so on and so forth. And oh, isn't that sweet? I play the victim. She strokes my ego, and I feel validated in my big outpouring of efforts. But it's really false. I mean, it's just not true. In truth, that's a false reality I'm speaking, or at least a weak one. I work for myself. I'm not financially destitute. I'm my own boss. I created the workload. I could do less and earn less and have less. I got plenty I can do with less. But I want more. So I do more. And I chose to go on a 10-day vacation with my wife. Oh, poor me. So that conscious choice necessitates I do extra work leading up to it. But even there, I could simply take off and let the work drop. Nobody's going to die. Nobody's going to be upset. Unfortunately, I wish they were. But if all my shows don't drop exactly when they should drop, I mean, I can so often get this, God or Superman complex that inflates my importance in this world. And you can hear my tone, and I apologize for it because my tone is really how I feel about myself. And I do get critical with this. Please don't take that for yourself. I hope you have a lot more grace for yourself than I tend to have. I need to take a deep breath even there, some lightheartedness. Uh, and I don't mean to minimize as I talk about this, the critical junctions in life. I mean, sometimes we are, in fact, victimized. I mean, just a week ago, I don't even know it's been that long. My wife suffered an injury. It found us at the ER at 3 a.m. She was in severe pain. Well, that's viable, to say, I got to get my wife to the hospital. However, and it's gonna feel exaggerated, but again, just go with the spirit here. It may feel it's gonna feel exaggerated, but push came to shove, she probably could have driven herself. I actually had an adult kid downstairs sleeping. They could have taken her. Or I have a working phone. I can dial 911. It's kind of what you're supposed to do in an emergency. Now, this wasn't quite that emergent, but I could have done that, had an ambulance come out. But I didn't, honestly, I didn't want to do either of those things. I wanted to take care of her. I love her. Even if I didn't, I would have decidedly wanted to care for her just because it's the right thing to do. Again, it's my want though, right? So even in a tragic, acute thing, but think about just your daily life. That's where it's that word, I'm going to use it again, insidious. It comes up and it undermines us. It's spiting ourselves. I mean, think about going to your office or place of employment. If you are an employee, do you really have to go? Hey, I got to go to work. You've got no choice in the matter. That's going to sound facetious, but think about it. I promise it's more than just semantics to state that you want to go to your office. If you do not love or at least enjoy your work, then you must appreciate getting paid. So at least state it as such, literally and mentally. Hey, I want to go to the office because I value my job that provides a paycheck, which affords me my lifestyle. Boom. Now you're in control. You retain your power. You're responsible. You do what you do by choice. Massive flip, guys. And this is, and I'm talking to myself, but this is the difference between the people that we see having levels of success that we want, which may just be joy and fulfillment. Think about picking up your kids. For those of you who are parents like I am, you're actively engaged in work you appreciate. It pays the bills, but your kids are done with school and you've got to go get them or they're going to be abandoned, right? Well, otherwise social services is going to swoop in and find actually responsible parents. So, but just think of the mindset. You can't say, I have to go pick up my kids. I mean, think about that. I got to go pick up the kids. Listen to the voice intonation. To say it differently, well, saying it that way, it flips an internal trigger that it's a burden. Think about telling your boss, your coworker, your spouse, whatever, hey, I got to go pick up the kids. It's by proxy of saying I've got to, it's a downturn thing. Like, the burden of that. I mean, picture the mom or dad who says that. They don't say it with joy. You don't say it with joy, but with an eye roll, a hint of exasperation. Again, that victimhood. Now change it to, hey, all right, well, now I want to go pick up my kids. Literally try speaking those. Think about if you had been, we got a lot of military around here and you've been deployed and you were gone for a year and you'd come home, get off the plane. It's 2 o'clock. The kids get off at 3. You would tell everybody, oh my gosh, guys, I'm going to go pick up my kids. I get to go pick up my kids. I want to go pick up my kids. I mean, you can't say that one without joy. Why don't we do that? Literally try, look at yourself in the mirror and try speaking those two alternative statements. When you say, I have to, the word kids at the end is said with that, again, downward intonation, but change it to the want to. And you're likely to say kids with this upturn intonation. Stating want naturally adjusts our attitude and literal speech. So I can talk about the power it gives you, the fulfillment it gives you, but it gives you joy to say, no, I want to do that. That's a choice. The power of want just cannot be overstated. So this is a practice, an exercise you can do. It's literal brain training, rewiring. And ultimately it's more honest, because for most of the people listening to this right now, the vast majority of your life today is where you are by choice. You're not living in the gutter. You're not in prison. Some people might be, and I'm so sorry about that. But even there, you get to choose what you do to some degree today, the things you want to do. With all due respect and pointing the finger at myself, there's very little negative in my lifetime that ultimately was not a result of something I wanted and really chose to do. And my wife and I, we never planned to have 7 biological kids and then 2 adopted. Our 4th kid happened and she was on the pill. The 6th kid happened and we were making every attempt at birth control as we were just at the beginning of building a house. However, in both cases, I did very much desire and participate in the intimate affections of my wife at the time of inception. I wasn't forced or coerced in any way, shape, or form. I came to the event with much free will and even joy. I mean, none of my business and my business failings happened as a result of endeavors I was forced to pursue. And there were things that I was excited about. I had confidence, I had gusto, I had desire, and I put myself in that place where the possibility of failure existed. And I made the majority of the decisions all along the way. I wasn't a victim of them. But it's worthy to take a look at our lives and rewrite our current circumstances in regards to our personal choice. And you can make that a task. Uh, I pay you, $10,000 to figure out a way. If you would say everything in your life today, every aspect of your circumstances, you came to by choice. It's worth the effort to do that, to think through that. Even if you were a victim, had some victimization along the way, how did you choose to take action and perspective from that point that resulted in where you are today? Because we can take 2 people and the exact bad circumstance happens to them, and one chooses to be a victim and the other just doesn't. And I don't make that a simple statement. Man, there are people with dire tragedies, and I'm sensitive to say that in what I would say I've had a privileged life. But friends, I mean, this is possibly the most liberating action you can take in your life, as it frees you and empowers you regardless of your circumstances, many of which you can't control. You can't control the external, but we can control the internal. I mean, I've known people who seem to be pillars of responsibility and seem to never place blame anywhere, but to change their paradigm to having said, I've made choices that resulted in my current circumstances, it's again, can be mind blowing. But again, back to the little things of life. How many times per day does the average person say, hey, I've got to get some, here's one, I've got to get some breakfast. I got to get some lunch, got to get some food, dinner. Few Americans know what actual hunger is. We're led by our appetites, by our addiction to food, the mere habit of eating, and the joy of eating too. Listen into episode 63 of the True Life podcast, my other podcast, one of my others, True Life podcast, episode 63. We showcase food is the number 1 drug on planet Earth, and we're all addicted and most overweight. Easy way to lose a few pounds is to just say, hey, change it to I want to eat lunch. It just triggers the reality that you don't need to, you don't have to, you're not starving, you want to eat. And in that way, you're going to eat because, hey, I'm accustomed to eating. I like eating. And even just taking that responsibility that, hey, I want to get the little dopamine hit I get off of eating. It'll result in taking less overall food and calories, probably making better choices in what you eat just by owning it. So that term there, ownership, extreme ownership. Okay. That's become a buzzword. Top podcaster, author, former Navy SEAL, Jocko Willink, wrote a book. That's the title of it. And his point was what I'm getting to here: extreme ownership. Tom Bilyeu, another guy. Tom, I've had on the Ziglar show quite a while ago, but he runs Impact Theory, has a show, a podcast. He has a short video clip. You can find it if you type it in. And Bilyeu spelled Bilyeu or Yue, one of those, and type in "everything is your fault." And he has this little clip. He was actually, I think he was being interviewed by somebody and they asked him, some big word of counsel. And he said, here it is. Everything is your fault. Looked in the camera, said, everything is your fault. And he goes on this analogy. It's a super exaggerated analogy of a meteor comes out of the sky, crashes through his home and kills his wife. And he's going to claim it's his fault. Again, he admits it's ludicrous to try and take blame for it. Of course he can't. But he outlines the far detrimental other option of claiming victimhood. Now, two words there that I just spoke in that quick analogy, fault and blame. Those are the key problems there. Those are two words we all run from. Nobody wants to be at fault, to be at blame. We'll go to Herculean efforts to never let those words be placed on us. And that's fine. So let's say, okay, you're never at blame or fault, but can you just take ownership and responsibility? And contrary to those words, have grace for yourself. That's where we miss it. And I say this as the chiefest of sinners in that area. Here's an example for me. I live in a national forest high up in the Rocky Mountains, and we've been evacuated multiple times because of forest fires. It's a big threat up here. So if next week a forest fire comes through and my house burns down, I'm gonna say, I know it sounds goofy to say that's my fault, I'm to blame, but I am gonna at least take responsibility. I don't have to live there, and I know the risk. I know the danger. I could sell my house in a week, move to the desert with not a tree in sight, no possibility of forest fire, but I'm not going to. I pay for home insurance and I take the risk by staying where I am. And that feels so much better. And it'll feel better if that actually happens because I've thought through this. I've already prepared myself for the possibility. That sounds pessimistic, but it would be arrogant not to think it's not a possibility, or to think it's not a possibility. And even back to my kids, thinking about that, I have 9 children, now 3 grandkids. The possibility of me experiencing the loss of a child to death while I'm alive is statistically higher than most people. Now, I'm not morbid, but again, I chose to have those kids. I chose to increase that possibility. And I've thought about it. And I strive to be able to accept it, be at peace if it were to ever happen. I mean, it would devastate me, my gosh, don't get me wrong, but my chance of recovering positively is far higher because I'm taking ownership of that possibility. Now, again, I'm going to keep coming back to these little seemingly benign things that we say, uh, that one, not only rob us of our ownership, but in truth, our lies, those little white lies that we think don't hurt anyone, but they hurt us. And I'm not talking about some, religious and righteous perspective on lies. I'm simply citing the harm we do to our ability to be whole when we give away our responsibility and power. So as I use that word again, power, and I've used the word empowerment, I think a couple of times previously. For the record, I'm not in the camp of being all things and everything's in and of myself. And I use the words for just a simple simplicity of understanding the concept. I am not God. I don't believe I am a God. And I could couch it by saying we are whole when we take responsibility. If you don't like the word power, we're whole, to be more whole, to be healthy. When we take responsibility for ourselves and accept our choice and desire for where and what we are, instead of, again, claiming victimhood. These little untruths, though, that we say so often. And I was thinking about this. This happens to me frequently. I'm at a kid's, let's say a soccer game, for instance. And at the end, you're chit chatting with people. I don't have a whole lot of patience to do that. It's not my favorite thing to do. And I'm so likely to finally take a deep breath and glance at my watch and say, yeah, wow, look at the time. I got to get going. Right. You can hear that. We all say that a billion times, which it belies that I have, family waiting on me, or an appointment to get to, or something that I just have to respond to because I'm not in control of my own life. And it's socially acceptable. We all know that, but it's not true. I simply want to stop chit chatting and go do something I enjoy more. That's it. But I play the victim to this person, and you could say it's you're being nice to them, right? And that's odd too, because they generally know as well, consciously or subconsciously. They know it because they do it too. It's just what we do. They do the same thing. So we accept each other's little socially acceptable white lies and victim speech that we all kowtow to. It's really weird when you start unpacking it. However, wouldn't it feel odd and be awkward to state the truth, to say, hey, I really just want to stop talking with you right now, so see you later, and walk away? Well, I'm not going to do that either. That isn't very nice. But I can say, even with, again, that sigh and look at my watch, say, hey, man, I'm going to run. Really good to see you. That's truthful, not offensive. I retain ownership, and it's my choice. I want to do something different. I'm going to go. I mean, to clarify, I'm talking about eradicating, again, have to, got to, from your language. Have to, got to, need to. I mean, listen to it. I've got to go. I have to go. Got to go. I need to get going. Now, if it's a literal deadline issue, like getting my kids from school, I may in fact say, hey, I want to go get my kids at school, their pickup times in 10 minutes. Totally honest. And that increases again my joy in going to get them instead of, hey man, I gotta go. The 10 minutes they got to be picked up. Likewise, I could say, hey, I want to run and make this meeting on time. I'm expecting a good deal to come out of it. Feels positive and hopeful. But when a true deadline isn't there, you can still replace the want with, hey, I'm going to. Okay, hey man, I'm on a jet. Good to see you. I'm gonna go now. Gonna run. Say hi to your wife for me. In episode 763 of the Ziegler Show, I had on Will Bowen, and he wrote a book titled A Complaint Free World. And he started an initiative with this purple bracelet, the little plastic or rubber, I guess, rubber bracelets. And the point was not to complain about anything. And if you do, you switch the bracelet onto your other wrist. So he took a tactile aspect of it that brought it to mind for us. And the goal is to go as long as possible, keeping it on one wrist and not complain. Well, this is a very similar effort. And heck, I mean, if you want to use a bracelet, you could do that. Erase the word have to from your vernacular. But again, two words, but we say them together. Very damaging union of words. It makes it easier if you share the objective. If you really want to do this, which I hope you do, share the objective with your spouse or a friend or whatever, the people you're going to be around. Share this message if you want to, so they understand the context. But then you can self-correct in front of them when you invariably slip up what you're going to, which I'll do a lot. Say, hey man, I got to go. I want to go to work now. I mean, I do this daily. My kids, my wife they're used to it. My friends. So share the message, and you'll find them, whoever you share it with, you'll find them considering and probably adopting the initiative as well. But again, please hear me. This is not some pithy little self-help exercise. This is life changing. That sounds such a big statement. Like I've come up with this, the secret, the hack, the whatever. I'm not. It's just one of those things we've adopted as a norm in our culture, just like eating tons of sugar and processed food. And it's just harming us. Most of us have no idea how much of ourselves we have minimized and handicapped by adopting this victim language. If you want to increase your peace, your joy, your gratitude for life without changing the circumstances, this is something you can do. You no longer have to do anything. You don't need to do anything. You want to. You are going to, of your own volition. You can have fun with it. It's helpful to make a list. Here's some paradigm shifters, some ideas for you. Hey, I want to get up now. When the alarm clock goes off, why do you want to? Because you want to have some time before the family wakes up or you start your work day just to center yourself, because you want to take the kids to school. As not doing so would result in consequences. You don't want those. In truth, you could choose to let them stay home. If that means that you got young kids and you'd have to stay home, you can choose that too. If you would get fired, well, you could choose that too. You don't want to get fired because you want to get paid. It's all the things that you want. Shift them around and you'll realize, no, those are things that you have chosen that you want. I want to exercise. There's another good one. I got to go to the gym. I got to exercise. I got to run. I got to walk. I want to exercise because I want to look and feel and perform better. It's all for me. Hey, I want to skip eating this morning. How's that? Or I want to skip eating today because it's good to give my body a break. It will benefit my mind and my life and my health and my wellness. Hey, I want to have a hard talk with my spouse or kid, or you might have to stay on that one. Hey, I'm going to. You don't have to. You may not really want to, but you do. You say there's even things like, gosh, I don't want to, but I've got to do it. Or I want to, but I have to do it. No, I want to because I do want to. There's some payoff that we do actually want. We've got to own it. And back to that, I want to grab some lunch. Your body probably doesn't need it. Your taste buds are talking to you. Sometimes not even that. Just, your mind, your habit is talking to you from a physiological sense, psychological sense. But your taste buds, they're driving you. Own it. Admit it. You get the idea. Will Bowen, he has that no complaint challenge. Similarly, Shanti Feldhahn, who I cite so often, has a kindness challenge where you say nothing negative and proactively say positives about someone for 30 days. Both of those, complaint, kindness challenge, life-changing. So I'm tempted to tell you to take the want challenge for a day, minimum. Try for one day, but make sure it's a day that you're around people and conversing and have plenty of opportunity to errantly and self-abusedly, claim you have to do these things. But I truly feel even the word challenge, it minimizes the true gravity of this issue. It's more like a want right. It's your right and privilege to claim responsibility and ownership of your actions and therefore your life. We are a culture very wrapped up in our personal rights, but they're most often cited in partnership with these victimhood issues. And this is not that. This is your right and privilege to be whole. I don't know any healthy, whole people who take responsibility for their lives, who are out picketing and marching and grasping for their rights, like we see. They aren't reaching out to others because they're not reliant on others for their fulfillment, self-worth, wholeness, peace, their joy, their fulfill. We want others in our lives, of course, to collaborate with in order to experience the highest aspects of love and human experience. But our ultimate core wholeness is what we have in and of ourselves as unto God, if you have faith as I do. So in taking every action of my day and my week and my month and my year and my life and viewing it and owning it as I want, I claim my right to be whole, to be happy, to be full so I can pour out and serve others. My family, think it this way. My family, they don't want a husband and a father who has to take care of and provide for them. They want a husband and father that wants to. Your employer doesn't want an employee who has to come to work and has to do their duties. They want one who wants to. And that's the one that's going to get promoted ultimately, find other better opportunities. Your customers, if you're a business owner, they don't want to buy your product or service because you have to sell it in order to make a buck. They want to buy your product or service because you want them to have and benefit from it. I mean, your friends and associates, they don't want you dismissing yourself from their presence because you're a victim to untold things and you've got to go. They want you inspired and vibrant and involved in activities of your choice and desires that you want to go do. I mean, so again, we pull ourselves down and pull everyone around us down when we say, oh, I've got to go. I have to go. We pull ourselves up and add to our lives and everyone around us when we say, hey, I want to do this thing. I'm going to go do this thing of my choice, my volition. Folks, this is for you. This is for me. Here's to you and everything you want to do today. Hey, coming up in episode 21 of the Motive Show, I bring you the motive story of Jared Angaza. Jared's motives took him down some very dark roads. They ultimately took him to Africa for a decade to serve the least of these over there, but left him in disillusionment. Today, he's the strategy director for Space for Humanity and at a place of peace and joy he's never experienced. How did his motives, what was the journey there? What was the path from hurting him to helping him? Well, hey, till then, here's to you getting clear on what you truly want by fully understanding and agreeing with your motives for wanting it.